Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman. Welcome back to those of you who have been here before, and if you've never listened to Gaze Reading before, I'm very happy to have you. On today's show, the terrific internet poet sensation, Lyndsay Rush, aka Mary Oliver's drunk cousin on Instagram. Y'all, I gotta tell you, I was never a poetry person and picked up Lyndsay's new book a bit much, and I couldn't put it down. It is so fantastic, and I'm a poetry convert. What can I say? That's it. That's all I have to say. So I'm so excited for you to listen to this conversation. I want to be her best friend, and that's it. And today's guest gay reader is your favorite Peloton instructor, your favorite Dancing with the Stars contestant, the one and only Cody Rigsby. Today is like an embarrassment of riches. These humans are both so terrific, and I cannot wait for you to hear these conversations. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review if you are so inclined. Those things are incredibly helpful for other people to be able to find Gaze Reading. And you can watch some of these episodes over on YouTube. The link to the YouTube channel is both in the show notes and also in our link tree on our Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at Gaze Reading and give us a follow. We do giveaways all the time, and that's the place to check those out. Also, you might be new to poetry, you might be here for Cody, you might be here for Lyndsay, and maybe you're not a big reader. And I gotta say, a fantastic way to start is by checking out Aardvark Book Club. Aardvark Book Club is a great book subscription program where they drop 5 to 6 books at the beginning of every month. You get to choose your book. It gets shipped right to your door. And with the code Gaze Reading at checkout, you can get your very first book for $4 and free shipping. That is an exclusive introductory discount for new members here in the United States. And you can join today. Again, aardvarkbookclub.com. Enter the code Gaze Reading to get your first book for $4. You cannot complain the books are too expensive. That's why you don't buy them. No, it's so cheap. It's so exciting. The titles they have are so fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. And they're a terrific follow on Instagram as well. So make sure to check them out. And now, without further ado, the wonderful, the delightful, the hilarious Lyndsay Rush, welcome to Gaze Reading. Cord, just in case. Because if this is maybe our screen test for the action movie.
I mean, what if we say something so brilliant right now that we could cast immediately?
This is why. You never know.
This is why.
Do you hear that?
You have a bad guy in there, don't you? There's a bad guy tied up, and he's like,
my window downstairs is open to an alley, which like typically is never a problem. It's like I just want to breeze, and all I hear is the garbage truck in the alley. And I'm like, do I need to go save the day?
Right, like what's going on?
You're in Nashville now?
I'm in Nashville now because of my husband. It's his fault. But I like it. It's cute. It's
okay.
It's a deeply blue city. So
in a
deeply
sea of red. It's like you drop a tiny blue dot.
If you zoom, are we making a difference? We don't know.
Listen, yes, we are. Yes, we are. My husband and I went to the library sale yesterday where they, sell their books, whatever. And he bought books and it was $1.50. And he was like, oh, I have $2. And the woman goes, well, I can make change. And I said, we're all trying to do that every day.
I can make change. Yes, you can, Queen.
Yes, you can. Every little bit. She did not.
Did she get it? Oh. That there is like no tragedy like a really quick, good joke that the interaction that they don't get. You're just like, am I going to have to try this again? And then our partners just have to hear us attempt it again.
Wait, it's so funny that you say that. So I just directed a show, and my choreographer, she's going through all this crazy stuff at work. There's asbestos in her classroom. And I was telling my husband all about her drama. And at the end of the story, I told him what I told her. And I was like, and I just turned to Katie and I said, Katie, don't worry. You're just trying as best as you can. And my husband said, you just told me that entire story so you could tell me the joke you made.
Of course. You're like, yeah, and?
Like, I don't understand the problem.
I see no problem with it.
Right.
That's good though. And I do like wordplay for a living with my branding agency and then obviously with my book. And that's one I have not heard.
Asbestos? Well, you can have it.
I mean, how many? Now I'm just going to have to go seek out. And you know what? I fucking would.
If you ever need, right. There's probably a good like abatement pun in there too.
Yeah. Thank you. What if I just like take all this stuff?
That's why we're recording.
An ad campaign? Right.
Listen,
perfect.
Whatever.
Perfect.
I have proof. And I just want to be able to steal my stuff. That just means I was clever, so I don't care.
We have you on file saying that.
I'm not funny for a living, so just have it. Have at it.
You're just funny for
my husband,
for a hobby.
My one person audience.
Who most of the time is like my husband, if I'm like working something, if I'm like, is this? And he'll go, please don't take me into the writer's room. Please don't bring me to the writer's room. Because especially if I'm like, I've taken a gummy or anything, I'll be like, do you think anyone? He's like, stop, please, please, please.
Oh.
He's like, I can't unhear it. I'm like, well.
That is so funny. There is a home video of me at 3 or 4 years old. No, I must have been a little bit older because my sister is 3 years younger than me. I think I was like 4 or 5. And I'm telling the camera that I like Amanda because she laughs.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just always needed an audience. It's fine.
Yeah. I have a 1-year-old son who now like thinks I'm the funniest person ever. And I was like, I went through all of this just for this. Like, right. And as long as it will last, because very soon he will think I am the least funny person. So I'm going to do it while I can.
Right. And now's the time to film it all. And you don't need to film the rest of it. Right.
Yeah. Like, that's so weird. We stopped having phones. There was an apocalypse. It's whatever.
There was totally an apocalypse. And you thought I was so funny. You must still think I was funny at this point.
Certainly.
Oh my God. Amazing. I don't read poetry.
Who does? I'm just thinking lots of people probably do.
Sure, but I also think lots of people don't.
Yeah.
And your publicist reached out and I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that this is my thing. It's fine. But like, send me the book. I'll check it out. Whatever. Like, when I'm falling asleep, I'll look at a poem. It's fine.
Send me the poem in case I run out of toilet paper. Send me the book. I'll just.
Right. Who knows? They're short. So like.
Right. How much harm can it do?
On the toilet. And I like literally did start it while I was in bed just because I was like, oh, I know it's easy enough to digest before bed. And it turned into a thing where I was like looking forward to my time with the poems before bed. And I didn't want to read them too quickly because I was like, I just love my little moment where I read, 2 or 3 poems before I go to sleep.
Bedtime poetry.
Yes.
So sweet.
And I don't dog ear books. I don't, and I have so many poems dog eared. You turned me into a poetry person.
I said on an interview last week, and I wish I would have thought of it before for the back cover, but I was like, it's for people who are poetry curious. Like, it's truly because I myself was not a big poetry reader. And then started dabbling during the tail end of the pandemic. And I would just take jokes of mine, old jokes, old tweets, and use them as like the title or the first line or the last line and start expounding on them. And I was like, wait, this is really fun. Because I've always loved short form things. And I was like, wait, now, and I think I say this maybe on the back cover that for me, or maybe in the intro, that for me, a poem is just a joke with an epilogue. Because I was like, to me, the best jokes are deeply true because you're like, oh shit. But you usually can't say a ton, at least in like, I'm not a stand-up comic at all. But so being able to write more, but also keep it tight and like a little mysterious, then turned into one of my favorite things. And then I started the Instagram and yada, yada, yada. I mean, not yada, yada. All very exciting, but.
Well, no, and it's funny because it's like, okay, people laughed at this little nugget of something one time, or there was a giggle here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have anything else going on. Let's
Right.
unpack that a little bit into something beyond a punchline.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
So
really what all of these are. And I strive to be as clever and creative as you are. I mean, there are just so many things that are so relatable, and I don't really want to give any away. I was like, oh, we could, read some, but I was like, no, I don't
Oh,
want
you
to.
can? Come on.
Okay, I will. This is
Do
one of my
it.
favorites.
Do it.
This is called Anti-Hero. ANTE, hero for our listeners. We fell in love the way I eat Doritos, slowly and then all at once, at the risk of sounding like someone who gets misty-eyed and insists, when you know, I'll say this. I've never been lucky when it comes to love, but with him, it didn't feel like a gamble at all to put all of my chips on the table. So much wordplay, double entendres. It's like layers upon layers. It is a dip.
It
It
is
is a
a 7-layer dip.
multi-layer dip.
Oh, that makes me so happy. It's so interesting too to see which poems resonate with people. And you're like, oh, that's so I was just thinking about that poem this morning because I was like, I haven't heard anybody talking about Anti-Hero. The book's been out for like 4 days. I'm like, no one. Excuse me.
Why is no one talking about Anti-Hero?
No one.
But what's funny is it had me at the title, ANTE, right?
Mhm.
Like already you're like, oh, I want to know more. Is your husband someone that you can eat chips with?
Yes. And I did learn, and so I'm a middle child, unsurprisingly, by my attitude. But my husband says I'm a very bad sharer, but I think I'm only a bad sharer with snacks. And so he sort of has to ask permission on which chips are safe because there is nothing more heartbreaking for me personally than like mapping out a snack in my brain and getting home and going to find that part of it is gone. And so I will eat chips with him if they're sanctioned.
Is there like this chip is always off limits, or this chip is always fair game?
I mean, I'm very interested in like seasonal or unique flavors. Like Lay's has a summer trio that comes out every summer, the Holy Trinity. And if I've procured them, he knows not to open a bag that he's never seen before. And if it is a like, he sounds so insane because it's like important to me to
I
like
relate deeply. It's fine.
And he also knows not to finish. So it's sort of like, if it's middle ground, let's do it. But
Yeah.
like, I might have had plans for that. So he'll say, do you have plans for this chip? It's like, what is happening? Because usually the answer is yes.
That's why I bought them.
Yes, I have elaborate plans.
Right.
Another thing he does that really hurts my feelings, Caleb, if you're listening, I tell him this all the time. When he puts chips away, he rolls them down so tightly that it looks like there's not a lot left. Even though that is accurate, I want to roll them a little higher. So I guess I'm an the chip bag is half full.
It is
to
half
me.
full.
It's
right.
too. I can look in there. I'm like, what is this little thing? And he's like, I'm just air vacuum sealing them. I'm like, well, now that's depressing. That looks like 5 chips.
Right.
I need to see a chip therapist. Also, just to segue myself, one of my like only controversial poems in the book to me that I was scared to publish is about my dad, and it is also about chips. And it's like the poem that I'm like, ugh. And it's called A Chip Off the Old Narcissist. And so the hope is that he won't read the book because of said because he perhaps may be a narcissist. But so anyway, chip, it goes way back because he used to call me a chip vac, as in vacuum, because we would like battle over chips. And so I was like, of course I married someone who I'm going to battle over chips. This is me working out my childhood
Lots
issues
of trauma.
in the
chip trauma.
I'm glad we've gotten right to the heart of the matter.
I know. That's essentially what the book is about. Yeah. I mean, you bring up chips a lot, which is literally why I asked you if you and your husband, you found someone who you share chips with. Here's a PSA. Trader Joe's, who is not our sponsor, came out last year with stuffing flavored popcorn.
Oh.
Didn't think I was going to like it.
Loved
Obsessed.
I just saw stuffing flavored veggie chips at Whole Foods. Like, what's that brand? It's a black bag. They make like their chips are all different like colors. Anyway,
Oh, like Terra chips? Is that what they're
yeah,
called?
yeah,
Yeah.
They have a fall collection out, and one of them is stuffing, and another one I think is sweet, which I'm not. I think it's like apple cinnamon or something.
Oh,
But
okay. Well,
stuffing flavored popcorn. Are they going to come out with it again?
I hope so. Should we write to someone?
Gosh, I know, like Joe himself.
I think he's died.
He has?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, this is the first time hearing. Oh,
Okay,
man.
so now that once we get off this, you're going to fall down a Wikipedia rabbit hole about Joe from Trader Joe's.
Is there a lot to learn?
Probably, but I have to tell you about the Wikipedia rabbit hole you sent me down.
Oh, yes.
With the inventor of the waterbed.
Let's talk about him. I looked it up, but what is his name again? Do you have it in front of you?
It was like Percy something, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember,
That
but
sounds right.
the first known waterbed was in 1833.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but why did they make it back then?
Why did they make it back
For
then?
for injured people?
Oh, yes. It was to like relieve pressure
Yes,
off of people.
Did your parents have a waterbed? It feels like very Florida to have a waterbed.
I know, very Florida. It was not, my parents didn't, but there were people that I knew that had one.
And that was like, I was like, what's up with this family? Like if your parents had a waterbed, I was like, this is wild.
I know. Well, I like literally, I couldn't believe all of the facts I was learning about waterbeds, and nor did I couldn't believe that like I got to that Wikipedia page in the first place. I was like, what is Lyndsay doing to me?
Like this is the a bit much effect, is that you're going to find yourself on the waterbed origin story.
Yes. Well, hold on. I'm getting a call. Wait. Hello?
Oh my God. I was going to say, is it Joe from the grave? It's like, the popcorn is coming. Listen, I just got a gibbet for my high-heeled Crocs. They sent me a pair of high-heeled hot pink Crocs for the book tour. Thank you. You need some gibbets. I'm going to send you some gibbets. Now my new favorite thing, I got totally like converted, Croc-verted. And I traded gibbets with someone at the Chicago book tour stop. I gave her a moon because her daughter was named Luna. And she gave me a banana. And I said, oh, look, I'm going to tell you this whole story to tell you the joke I said, which is that a banana in your crocket, or are you just happy to see me? And we like both stopped, and she goes, did you just make that up? I was like, yes. I've not been in a circumstance to make a banana croc joke until now.
Which is hilarious. If no one, because we are mostly an audio medium, people barely watch this on YouTube, but I literally picked up a banana like a phone for our listeners.
Is a classic gag.
Classic gag. I literally made a note to myself this morning not to forget a banana from downstairs to bring it up to the desk because I was like, I need the bit.
I need it so bad. A
So
bit
stupid.
much. No, it's perfect.
Well, and so that, segueing to the title of the book a bit much, your publicist was like, this is a great book of poetry for like millennial women. And
perfect.
I know, I was like, bring it on, send it my way.
All she had to do was mention waterbeds, and then you would have been like, yeah.
Right, had I known.
Yeah.
If she said it was a book about chips, I would have pre-ordered it already. Like that, come on. But seriously, I think, gay men are told they're a bit much on the reg. I feel like that's essentially what coming out and coming of age as a young gay person is.
Yeah, right. I know. I am always very curious if people can remember the first time they were like told something in that vein or felt like that. Because I think for young girls, it tends to be like pre-teeny age when you start, which is like obviously puberty is when everyone like starts to like accidentally come into their own, only to realize that their own might be not conforming.
Wait,
and
this is like, mine?
Oh,
I don't.
I came into this accident.
Right.
This came to me.
Did I get a gift receipt?
Yeah. What is the policy? And then you're sort of like, I feel like certain personality types either turn and like embrace it, or I was sort of a mix of I was shy about my a bit muchness for some of those formative years. And it's because I think I went to a Christian private middle school. So my class was like 25 kids and like very religious. And then I went to a large public high school. And so I sort of had to figure, I was like, I really just need to blend in to survive my freshman year. And then I started dabbling with being extra, and it started being better and better as I've gotten older. But do you have like a memory of being told you were extra a bit much?
You said, I wonder if people have the memory of something like that, and a very specific, very traumatic thing came to me. I was in, I think, 4th or 5th grade, and I was in after school care, whatever, after school, whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the women who ran that program told me I was an instigator.
Like, what were you doing? Do you remember what you were doing at the
I
time?
don't know, probably instigating something, but like,
Probably instigating fun.
right.
Oh my gosh. And like, you remember.
I do. That very specific thing. It has stayed with me for a very long time. And I've talked about it. I've talked about it in therapy. I've talked about it before.
Yeah. Right?
But I didn't think about that as I was reading the book. But now
Yeah.
that you say, what's the moment for you? I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's absolutely that moment.
Yeah. And it's like, I had someone else tell me that they remember being called a Spitfire. And like, there's all these things. And I even feel like I have a poem that I wrote after the book that is called What in the Live, Laugh, Love is Going On Here. And it's about being cringe. And
Does
I
it take
even
place in TJ Maxx?
It should. It should. I'm more of a Marshall's head myself.
Fair.
A Marshall's artist is what I call instead of the that's my version of the Maxinista. But I feel like cringe is another sort of way of telling people to be a little less of themselves.
Right.
And but I feel like that one is tied to aging, which I also talk about a lot in the book, is this weird thing of going, it's one thing to be like a bit much and like hot and 26 but then to be like, because I'm 40, to be like, I'm 40 and a bit much and to sort of be like, I'm now a part of this generation that is not like are you like roughly, are you in your 30s?
I'm 36, yeah.
Yeah. So like roughly in that,
Yeah,
it's like we're aging out of this like relevancy, I get cultural relevancy, the zeitgeist, and that has been a very fascinating experience for me.
Yeah, no, I feel this deeply, especially coming off of the show that I'm doing right now. There are a lot of people in their 30s and 40s in the show, but then there are a handful of young 20-somethings, and some of the things they're doing or saying or talking about, I'm just like, no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm that old, but all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I am.
Yeah. And
okay, I have an important question.
mm-hmm.
Do you have any bruise news?
Okay, my most recent incredible bruise news, thank you for asking, is I was on a boat with my nephews and they taught me how to backflip off a boat. And I eventually got it, but I slapped the water with my legs so many times that from the knee down, both of my calves, black and blue. And so I would send bruise news updates to Caleb, even though I still send him updates during the day. I took so many pictures of those bruises. So many.
That sounds intense.
It was intense. But then I got it and it was really cool. And then I wrote a poem about it because it was on my baby's first birthday. And so I was like, oh, I'm learning new things. And so is he. And now I feel like I can backflip off of a boat.
But you'll never do it ever again. But you can.
I can't. Yeah, at least I can. And there's video footage. And it's good. I had everyone take so much footage from every angle because I'm like, we need this. I need a good one.
All that matters. Just like the kid laughing at you.
Yes.
That's it. It lives.
I'm like, should we give the listeners context for bruise news? Did I put that? We're like, no.
Does it matter?
We'll just say what page.
Well, they're readers, so they use their context clues. But
That's
no,
right.
please, let's see. Where is bruise news?
I've got to get better.
You don't have to memorize
I don't know how we're ever going to find bruise news.
It's called bruise news, isn't it? Or is it in a poem?
I think it's in a poem. Is the problem.
Look at me.
Look at you. You're like.
That's how close of a reader I am.
You know what though? I think it's got to be in the love poem sections. Bruise news. I'm just making this for a riveting show where I just leaf through my own book. Well, we'll
Right.
find
Ready?
it.
Here, it's ASMR.
Wait. No. Yeah. That actually sounds good. You need to, that's how you're going to get your views up on YouTube. Just be leafing through different books and have people guess the book.
What's the book?
And
How
it's
many pages is it?
We need to make an OnlyFans for books. Only spines. Only, I'll work on it. I'll work on what
Okay,
the
thank
name
you.
should be.
I need the brand.
And it's like,
the brand.
instead of feet pics, we'll just leaf through books. All right, I'm going to give up. But
That's
it's
okay.
a line in one of my poems
It's a
and you
line in
have
a
to find
poem.
it. Oh, I found it. I'll read it. It is on page 261 and the poem is called Siri, Play Peaches by Justin Bieber. I bruise like a peach. Low iron, clumsiness, genetics? IDK, probably all three. When my husband and I were dating long distance, I would send him photo updates of my random bruises and call it bruise news. I hope you're as proud of your sensitivity as I am of mine. It's a cute one.
So cute.
Bruise news. Din, 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 din.
I like don't want to, I maybe I'll make a list of all of the poems that I dog-eared so that everyone maybe reads those first and then we can talk about them. Because so much of it is relatable.
I want to know all your favorites.
There's
eventually.
one, I'm just going to read one line from a poem completely out of context, but I feel like this is something everyone can understand. I'm here to grate fresh parm all over my life and never say when.
I am.
Me too. I was like, I
Right?
didn't even know that was how I felt. And here I am. Now,
Yeah.
thank God for poetry because now I can articulate how I feel.
I had a friend ask me about why I gravitated to poetry instead of prose. And her guess, which I loved, she was
Did
like,
you
I
make a
think
list of pros and cons?
I've made that joke. I said, oh my God, I have that joke somewhere. It has something. Oh my God. It was like writing novels has more pros than cons. I don't remember, but that's.
I literally found it important enough to interrupt you to make the joke.
Let me say this as a rule in my heart. Always interrupt with a joke. There's no. Okay. Also, I'm curious to hear what you have to think about this because I'm from Chicago. Husband is from Alabama. In my life, definitely in my agency work, me and my business partner are best friends. So when we're brainstorming, we are like, no, shut up, listen to this. And it's very like, it's embarrassing. I have an improv background. Anyway, so we're like building on each other's shit all the time. But when I first started dating Caleb, he took it in the wrong way. I looked up smarter people than me talking about what that's called and if it's depends on where you're from or your culture. And someone called it something interrupting, but the C word was positive. Collaborative interrupting. Anyway, it was something where it was people's way of showing enthusiasm for what you're talking about. And so for me, I was like, no, that just means I'm so engaged with what you're saying that I want to chime in and show my support. Like, yeah. And cooperative interrupting. That's what it's called. Cooperative interrupting. And for him, and I think like where he grew up, it felt like I'm so uninterested in what you have to say that I need to talk. And my husband talks at a much slower cadence. And so I call him Mr. Ellipses because he'll be like, so I was thinking, and I'll be like, what? Like it's like shaking to jump in to try to I used to guess what he would be saying. He'd be like, maybe we could. And I'd be like, go to the grocery store. And he's like, no, we are wasting time. I would guess a bunch of things. He was like, you got to just let me say
Spit it out faster, Caleb.
Yeah. Well, then speed up. We don't have all the time in the world. We do.
Okay.
But
so poetry over prose.
Poetry over prose, hoes before bros. Hoes before pros? Is there anything there? And she's like, I think you like it because you can be less definitive in your, it's sort of like you get to put it out there and go, maybe, and or what do you think about this, or open to interpretation, especially when it came to heavier topics for me, like religion or politics or family, that I was like, maybe this way I don't have to be conclusive necessarily. I can throw a couple things out there. I can use humor to soften the blow. And then it's up to interpretation. And that, I do think it's true. I like that different people will DM me and be like, oh, that one line, it meant this to me. And I'm like, cool. I wrote it this way, but I love that. it's exciting for me. And then I don't have to commit.
There's also something about the brevity of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like,
Um,
I love. I can't imagine people who sit down and write a whole. Have you ever written a whole ass book?
no, I have like 6 different ideas.
As I was like, you seem like someone who would or should.
I recently had my tarot cards read for
Your
the first
tarot
time.
chip cards.
This woman named Michelle T, who's like a real tarot guru. She has like a book called Modern Tarot. Read my tarot. And one of the things she said was like, you are an idea generator.
Yeah.
And that's
You're an
my problem.
instigator.
I'm an instigator. Miss Lass was her name. I know.
I hope her underwear is scratching her right now in a place she doesn't want.
I'd put a lot of chips on the table that she is no longer alive.
She's gonna send a time capsule because she is gone.
Jason,
I hope you're instigating.
You're instigating.
She said you're an idea generator, is what you were saying.
And so I think I have so many ideas. I don't have the patience to like sit down and actually do them. And reading this book, I was like, oh, I could be a poet.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, I just can. I mean, truly, when everyone's like, you wrote a whole ass book, and I'm like, right. And I not to take away from the work that went into it, but it was one of the most intuitive writing forms for me ever.
Sure.
And when I started the Instagram, I was posting a new poem every weekday, Monday through Friday, just because I just had so much dumb stuff to say. And I was like, I like started the dedicated account so that I could start fresh and it wasn't like family members and old high school friends, people like looking. And I was like, I'm going to have the dumbest Instagram handle ever, which if you're listening, at Mary Oliver's drunk cousin. And then I just would like experiment. And then the beauty of Instagram too is you can archive, baby. When I would go back and be like, ooh, that was a stinker. But most of the time it was just fun to see stuff come to life and see what resonated with people. Anyway.
2 things I will say. One is that you had me thinking, whose drunk cousin would I be?
I love that question.
Yeah. And I haven't thought of an answer.
I hadn't even read a ton of Mary Oliver's poetry when I came up with that. I just knew that she was well known for her observations about small things that she would bring beauty to, but hers were like flowers and geese and like these gorgeous like things of nature that she would then add context and depth to. And so I was like, oh, I'm like that, but with Doritos and nail art. And so I thought it would be easy for people to sort of like know what they were in for.
Yeah.
But I feel like I also was going to do dollar store Mary Oliver was my backup, because it's like, because like I don't love alcohol humor. It's sort of like low-hanging fruit, low-hanging grapes, if you will. But the idea of someone's drunk cousin was just too funny to pass up. And then
I would probably
to find your drunk cousin.
I would call myself Dollar Store Rosie O'Donnell.
Amazing. Because of theater?
Because of theater, anyone who's ever listened to this podcast knows I want her on the show so badly. Rosie. She was very formative for me as a young person, but also like her passion for theater, her just like joy of appreciating what she was doing. Like whenever I talk to someone, I don't want them to feel like they're on NPR. Right. Like that's not what we're doing here. And Rosie was not Letterman. You know what I mean? Like she was her own thing. And so I'm not her drunk cousin. I am like the dollar store version. Like, come have fun.
Like, oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah.
I remember watching the talk show.
Who doesn't?
It was like, I mean, she like reinvented the form in a way, right?
Yeah. It was a pseudo variety show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, through a lens of daytime TV. And I think, just like super cool and special. And so that's what I picked.
Well, we're putting that out into the universe, Rosie. We need Rosie O'Donnell to come on your show, and we need Michelle Pfeiffer to get a copy of my book. We've been trying to get in touch with her people. Her DMs are closed. So
I'm making a note. I wonder if I know anyone who knows her.
I'm finding every way I can. I did just comment on her recent Instagram post, because it does look like she runs it herself. It's definitely not like heavily branded or like any sort of cohesive feed. And she
must have reached out to her publicist or something, right?
We did. We reached out. We found her publicist and her agent. but I don't think we've heard back. We're just like, hello. But she put on her main, not on stories, on her like main feed on the grid. She reposted my poem, She's a Bit Much, which is like the title inspiration for the book. And then she posted another one, but her doing that made that post go viral, that poem rather. And that was sort of what resonated with so many millennial women like yourself. And so I was like trying to think of who I dedicate this book to, and I didn't want to be, I kept not being able to be earnest. And so I was like, I'll just do a joke. It was my little sister's idea. And people who like were following at that time remember. And then most people are like, you must tell me why. Speaking of NPR, I was on NPR last week, and Mary Louise Kelly, like serious journalist, was like, she titled the piece, Why Lyndsay Rush Dedicated Her Debut Book of Poems to Michelle Pfeiffer. And then it's like all this like news pieces on war and stuff. And I'm just like, I plug my book. But she was lovely. And hopefully maybe Michelle listens to NPR.
Maybe. I'm sure she doesn't listen to Gaze Reading, but maybe one day she will.
Come on. We don't know.
You didn't start writing poetry until 2021, but you like you dabbled as a teenager, yes?
Yes. But like my teenage poems were all like rhyming, and I'd usually write them as like either like a gift to a friend to make everyone laugh, or like in college I would write long rhyming poems after like a big weekend to like commemorate what we did. Just all like more like little toasts, I guess. But so then nothing in this like form until 2021.
No, this is like when people think of poetry that doesn't rhyme. This is very that, and it is so accessible and makes you be like, oh, I can understand poetry in a new way. But I also, it's exciting because it's like, you've been doing this for 5 minutes. I basically started reading books in 2021, and suddenly I host a book podcast. Right. So if you dream it, you could do it.
Dream big.
But when I heard you talking about writing poetry as a teenager, hashtag things I haven't talked about in a long time or thought about in a long time, I wrote a lot of poetry in high school. I was in like creative writing classes and always entered into the, what were they? They were like not English literature festivals at school. They would have like these little festival things.
Yep.
And it had me talking about trauma. I have to share this story publicly. I think it's like deep inside of me that I've never shared it really before because I'm very ashamed.
You know the best way to counter shame, right? Put it out in the light. Let's do it.
Come out.
I'm like making you. I'm like, when was the first time someone told you were a bit much? I'm like,
no,
now
listen,
take your shirt off.
It's important. And my therapist is out of town this week, so here we go. I was in high school and I needed to, it was like a part of my honors English requirement that I submitted like 3 things to this literature festival. And I had 2 and I needed a 3rd. And I like forgot about it at lunch. And so I was like, oh shit, I need to write something. I babysat years earlier for a director of like a local theater company that produced shows for kids. And there was an original musical that was all about like a flying button in a closet and you go in and it's like a different world. I didn't remember the details exactly, but because music is so powerful, I remembered some lyrics. And I took a couple lines of the lyrics that I remembered, and it inspired me to write more of a poem. What I didn't realize, or let me say this, that poem won first place in the like rhymed verse category. And when you win, you had to go up on stage and read your poem. I'm in the middle of reading the poem and I was like, oh my God, this is a coming out story.
What? How much? Like, is this at school or at the festival?
I'm at the school in our auditorium where there are, 300 people sitting there, and it was something along the lines of, the lyric that I remembered was, where the door is always open, where the monsters like to hide, step into your closet, there's a universe inside. That was the lyric from the song that I remembered. And so I like told this story of a planet that was discovered in a buttonhole and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally talking about your closet and coming out of your closet, and it's a magical place.
But you read it.
I read it at like mid And actually, I remember very distinctly, I said, step into my closet, or step into my closet was what I wrote. But I said out loud, step into your closet to like make it more universal. I was like, this is not about me. It's about everybody.
This could be about anybody, not the kid who
Anybody.
wrote
Everyone's
it and is
closet
reading.
is magical. Who cares?
Wow.
So literally, that came up in my brain yesterday, and maybe that's why I had a hard time sleeping last night.
Oh my God. But did the kid, like, how old were you?
16.
Were kids smart enough to like infer?
Oh, sure. I had also been like out of the closet to
Out, yeah.
so many people at that point, but still, I was like, oh. I was like, oh my God, they chose me as the winner because they were like, he's so brave.
You're in Prada. Oh my gosh, the accidental, like, that is like the nightmare of accidentally being on stage naked.
Yeah.
Is like, oh my gosh.
I was emotionally naked.
Because all your clothes were in the closet.
My clothes were in the closet.
The buttons were flying. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Speaking of traumatic words, another one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Husky.
Okay, hold on. Husky is tough. There's one, I have one because I have a muscular build, and that was like it might be muscular, athletic. I always look super, as though the idea of being muscular means bulky, but for a girl, it was just the last thing in the world I wanted to. And I was like, why am I so embarrassed to be strong? Why is this such a thing in my brain? Like, you just remember the first time. This is so vile. I remember a boy in my 7th grade class made a list where he said that it was called The Perfect Girl. And he took body parts from all the girls in class. And it was like Katie's legs and Lacey's eyes and like, no, because I got eyes and I was so sad.
You do have very nice eyes.
Thank you. But I was like, in 7th grade, who gives a hoot about eyes?
You're like, these boobs are brand new. Talk about this.
These just came in.
Right.
Like, let's hear a round of applause for the bee stings. God. Oh, but what a vile thing to do. I think it was that one of those boys in that group that was like, oh, Lindsay's calves are bigger than mine. Little 7th grade boys can be so tiny. And so then for the rest of my life, I was like, pants it is. I mean, not there, but like in like formative years, it's just so crazy the power that words have over us in that formative time. And we're dabbling, this is insider info, with making a kids book that is sort of like a company about, like, just a picture book about how being a bit much is a good thing.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I wish I would have had that message when I was younger. Who knows what I probably had a lot of messages that were meant to help me that didn't soak in, but just if it could be like, when you start to feel like you're too much, you're exactly enough, just like all of these things. So, young us, when I talk to adults that are so funny, so joyful now, it's like every single one of them has a story of someone trying to contain them. And that is just.
And you're like, I was like, you can't contain me. I'm a husky instigator. Yeah. I'm going to bust out.
I have the most muscular bruised legs you've ever seen.
Yes, look at your bruised legs.
Look at these.
Come on, backflip off the boat.
Backflip. Look what I can do with these.
Who said it? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Here we are.
Kelly Clarkson. Like, she's the first. But she sang it best.
She sang it the best.
Dude, speaking of daytime talk show, it makes me laugh so hard how everyone's like, please don't let Kelly Clarkson cover one of my songs because she's so good. Like, she covers a song at every show and you'd be like, well, I can never sing that again. But you can.
Yes.
Anyone can sing anything. Speaking of an extra moment as we close down, I initially was a vocal performance major in college, but then
way to bury the lead.
But listen to this. I was also in a sorority, and my senior year of high school, so I competed in choir and all that stuff. I got vocal nodules, and so like did all this like singing therapy and vocal therapy, but I realized that if I went out to parties, I would lose my voice the next day and not be able to do classes and sing and participate. And I chose having fun. I chose partying. I was like, I can't keep this major because I can't keep my voice.
Girls just want to have fun.
Girls just want to scream, baby. Girls do just want to have fun. And so what am I saying that? Vocal performance, singing. Oh, freshman year, I was in speech class, freshman year of college, and you were supposed to write a speech on your hero. And my hero was my choir teacher. Unfortunate name now, Mrs. Trump. I wonder how she's doing. But I sort of opened the speech, and you got points if you had a creative opening. I opened Mariah Carey's Hero. There's a hero. Just started singing. The class was at 8 a.m. I had not warmed up to a silent class. I remember it was like, that the hero lies in you. And then I'd be like, my hero, Miss going like that. We're all like 18. And I sang that earnestly in a dead silent class and then segued into like, every now and then a teacher comes along, like whatever it was. Oh, Mariah. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. See you later.
Thank you for being my guest gay reader today.
Thank you for having me and believing that I have a high level of literacy, you know? Like,
for all I know, you're telling me that what you recently read is your CVS receipt. So I have no idea that it might be that. That's why they're so long. It's so you could sit on the toilet and read something.
Thank you.
Right. For our listeners, today's guest gay reader, you might know him from a Peloton ride. You might know him from my mom's favorite, Dancing with the Stars. The one and only Cody Rigsby. I've never seen an episode, no offense.
Of Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But my mom would like...
most of the people are watching the clips online as well.
Oh.
So, you know, you don't have to tune in. I'm not on the show anymore, so it's okay. I don't care.
I'll do some YouTubing. Welcome to my podcast. Let me tell you how I didn't really know much about you before having you on my show.
It's okay. It's okay. I like it. It's like a blind date. We're going to get to know each other through the books that we're reading.
Well, this is like a blind date. And yet I was like, let me do a tiny bit of research. And I started listening to your audiobook.
Oh, wonderful.
XOXO Cody. And I couldn't stop. I read the whole thing.
Thank you so much.
So now I feel like I know everything about you and you know nothing about me.
Honestly, too much about me.
Right. Exactly.
You know all of my processed and unprocessed traumas.
Yes. I also had 3 jobs when I first moved to New York City.
It takes that kind of hustle mentality to survive in this city.
I know. I also learned that your breakup movie is Closer.
Oh, wow. Is that in the book?
Honestly, I consumed a lot of your content in the last 24 hours.
That's great.
So I don't know where, I don't remember where it is.
I fucking love that movie so much.
It's one of my husband's favorites.
It is incredibly written. The acting is phenomenal. And honestly, I'm 3 months post breakup and I have yet to watch that film yet.
Tonight's the night.
I actually thought about it just the other day and I said, I need to watch that film because the writing is so good in it, specifically when Jude Law's character is meeting Natalie Portman's character and they're talking about, because he's like, he writes obituaries and so he makes up these euphemisms for people and I think it's so romantic. She asks what hers is and he says disarming and she goes, that's not a euphemism, and he goes yes it is. And I just think it's like I love it. It's so like romantic but also just like real.
What would yours be?
Oh, I don't know.
That's okay.
Well,
you'll come up with something charming.
Before that scene, it says like a euphemism. He's like, he enjoys his privacy, which means gay. So I guess I enjoy my privacy, but it's whatever. Yeah.
So I feel like I know so much about you. But what I don't know is what you're reading. Cody Rigsby, what are you reading?
The children. No.
Well, obviously.
Everyone on the internet. No. So
when you sat down with like multiple books in your hand. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't either, because here's the thing with reading. I go through phases of being like so into books and then so not into books. What's your favorite book ever?
That's not really fair. It's
Oh, I know mine. Like I love Dancer from the Dance is my favorite book ever. It is such a great queer story, especially of New Yorkers can really relate to it. It's a phenomenal book.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking Dancer in the Dark,
No.
the Bjork movie.
No.
Dancer from the Dance.
Yes.
Oh, why don't I know this
It's like a
book?
queer story pre-HIV New York City, and so it's pre/during. It's really great.
Oh, I'll have to look it up. I feel like I need to turn in my gaze reading card because I don't know this book. So that's your favorite book of all time.
Yeah, I go through phases because I'm very introspective right now,
Oh.
picking up the pieces post breakup. I'm like
Mhm.
very much into the self-help and that. And so I just finished Attached, which I honestly, anybody who wants to be in a relationship or a long-term relationship, I think you really need to read this book.
Why?
Well, it kind of just like
As a person who's been with my husband for 10 years, I'm like, tell me why.
yeah. Well, it just really frames out like your attachment style when it comes to relationships. There's secure, there's anxious, there's avoidant. And I think it's good to know what your style is and also what to look out in potential partners so that you are picking the right people.
Did you
I'm an
learn that
anxious
about you?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm an
tell me.
anxiously attached person. I've known that through years of therapy, so I've known that. What helped me with this book, especially I've talked about this is the most I've talked about a breakup in a long time, but what I learned
Maybe a
so
good thing.
much about through this book and what really helped me heal from like my breakup was that my ex-partner is definitely very avoidant and those two do not mix well. Like it's just like water and oil, and my traumas bring up his traumas bring up mine. I want to get closer, he moves further. It's just this it is this unbalanced balancing act, and so that helped me really just accept, if that makes sense.
Is that, do we think, why you like watching the movie Closer? Because you like getting closer? You need to get closer?
Well, of course.
Here
I'm
we
always cleaning
go.
for that. I need the
Yes.
validation. I need the attention. I need to feel seen and heard in life.
So what attachment style person do you need?
Well, in the book, it says that like if half of the population is secure attachment and then like 25% is avoidant and 25% is anxious. So you really want to go towards the secure people.
Okay. So if there's anyone who's
If you
secure
can.
and wants to go on a date with Cody, email hello@gazereading.com
There we
and I'll
go.
pass it along.
But I think it also gives it's like, okay, if you're in a partnership and you are anxious and avoidant, here's how to kind of like,
The tools.
work through it or
Yeah.
navigate it. I just think if you're looking for someone, you might want to read the book. So
I will say,
aware. I also I'm not very far into this book, but it is No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. Forward by Alanis Morissette. I didn't even see that. So Alanis Morissette has a forward in this book. And this is healing trauma and restoring wholeness with the internal family system model.
And what I just learned about you is that you're one of those people that skips the forward.
I might have read some of it.
But didn't realize who wrote it. Right.
But okay. I definitely didn't make it to the part that says like love Alanis.
Right,
I definitely forgot about that part. It's a coin toss because sometimes I feel like the forward, I'm like, I'm wasting my time. Can we get into it? I've already wasted like 20 minutes doing this fucking forward.
I totally feel you.
Yeah, the last forward that I did read / listen to was Britney Spears' memoir because I wanted everything.
Did you listen to that audiobook?
I listened to it. I
did. She needs to win. Yeah. She can win an Oscar for that audiobook.
Yeah.
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams.
Yes. Michelle Williams. Yes. Gave an unbelievable
Brittany did the forward though. Brittany did the forward in the book. That was the only thing that she did for the audio. What I really like about sometimes a lot of books, especially when they're like either self-help or they're trying to teach you something, they can really feel like textbooks, and I'm too stupid and get lost and I just like get really bored. Mm-hmm. This is really digestible in a way that like a dumb person like me can understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes those sorts of books for me should be pamphlets.
Yes.
But it's good to
And
know that can sustain more.
yeah, and even No Bad Parts, which I'm in the midst of reading right now, I found myself getting a little bit lost at times, or like my attention span goes away pretty quick. So what I've actually started doing with this is I will stretch, I will listen to the audio book, which is on Spotify, and then I will also be kind of like reading the pages as I'm in the stretch. Does that make sense? Like I have to be like fully engaged with it because it's a little bit more dense, but I don't think it's that dense.
Yeah. So Dancer from the Dance is a fiction book that you love.
Fiction book. Yeah, I love that book.
And you clearly like a good self-help when you're in a time of need. Are
Yes,
there other
yes.
you like you go through phases? Are there other fiction books that you love? Now I'm just curious.
Oh wow.
You could say no, or I can cut that out.
No, I feel like I haven't, like, I think during the pandemic I went through a really big queer like fiction phase. But mostly I feel like I gravitate towards these kind of like mental health, meditation, books. That's kind of where I gravitate.
I
Fiction,
know people that don't read fiction at all and only stick to the non.
This is my thing. When fiction is good, it's so good that I can't put it down. When it's like a little bit cumbersome, I'm like, okay, I can't power through this as much.
Yeah.
You know, I have started A Little Life probably twice, and I haven't been able to, like, I want to so bad. I want to read this book so bad.
The book is 600 pages. I put it down at 300. I was like, I committed fully and I couldn't do it. It was so much trauma porn. I had to put it down.
You know what book I really hated?
I don't, but I want to know.
I got a good chunk through it. Red, White, and Royal Blue. I hated that book. I hated that book so much.
How come?
What?
I could probably tell you why.
I believe the author is queer, so I'm not trying to throw them under. I think they under the bus, but it felt to me like a straight woman's gay porn fantasy.
100%.
I was like, can y'all go ahead and fuck? Because in no way would two gay men be taking this long to have penetrative anal sex. Come on now, let's go.
They also had very limited opportunity. So it's like, when you have the chance, you do it.
You gotta know. Yeah, like let's go, babe.
Right.
Like one of you needs to prep and be ready and do this.
I refer to it as like straight woman fan fiction.
Yeah.
But I couldn't put it down. So like, I hear what you're saying. I also loved it.
There's duality in everything.
100%.
You can have a critique and an opinion about something, and you can recognize what it is, but you can also enjoy it.
Totally. And you have your book, XOXO Cody. Can you share where that came from?
Well,
or what it's about for our listeners who haven't had a chance to pick it up yet.
Let me give you the full title. XOXO Cody, an opinionated homosexual's guide to self-love, relationships, and tactful pettiness. Which Tactful Pettiness is the name of my podcast with my friend Andrew Chappelle, which I would love your listeners to go and give a listen. Started actually as a Peloton ride. I did an XOXO Cody series where I put together like theme playlists. Maybe they're about ass, maybe they're about sex, maybe they're about I don't know, technology, I don't know, whatever. And I would take riders' questions about love, self-love, relationships, and give them, you know, hard truths the hard way. And so I wanted to take that format and put it into a book where I kind of got to share my story, more of like a memoir where I'm sharing my story, but interjected with some fun elements from that ride, like hot takes or relationship questions or, you know, dating advice as well.
What would your XOXO Cody question be?
Oh, wow. What would I ask myself?
Yeah.
Ooh. I feel like it would be...
I'm brilliant. I don't need to ask anyone anything.
No, I wonder if it would be like maybe about attachment style. Like, you know, I've done an anxious avoidant and that didn't work out. Could anxious and anxious work out? Tell me more. I don't know.
What do you think you would say to yourself?
That's a great question. Well, if you're really if I am very emotional and very needy and need a lot of reassurance, you've got to be ready to give that to another partner, because they're also going to need a lot of that, which I feel like I would be well equipped with because I'm good at giving that out when I know that someone needs it. But I also can withhold it when I feel like someone needs it too much. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, you can
when someone
gauge it
needs something
accordingly.
too much, you're like, I don't want to fucking give it to you. It's like people with like cringy Instagrams, and like you can just tell they want an attention. You're like, I don't want to. I'm not gonna like this.
Right.
I'm not even gonna hate like it. I'm gonna withhold my currency.
That's so funny. Give them the opposite of what they need. Of
Yeah,
course.
I'm petty.
Yes.
I'm petty like that. I'm bitchy like that.
So is there anything else that you're reading these days? Any hot takes? And by reading, I mean reading.
Well, you know, I had the privilege of going to the Sweat Tour with Charlie XCX and Troye Sivan, which I didn't have low expectation, but I didn't have that high of an expectation. And it was one of the best concerts that I've ever been into in my life.
Okay.
But I need you, host, to get off your phone. I need you to get off your phone in many ways. I need you to stop recording the entire concert, babe. You can go on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and you can watch whatever you want of that concert. Be present, enjoy the moment, okay? Amen. Second of all, why the fuck are you FaceTiming your friends at this concert so that they can have a pixelated experience at the concert? Once again, they're not going to be able to hear it that well. No, they're not going to be able to see it that well. They couldn't afford the ticket. That's on them. All right. That's on them, baby. They can also go watch the concert on video, on social media for free, and not bother your experience. Be present.
This is a great complaint.
Thank you. And I love complaining.
Yes, me too. Is that that's my attachment style too, probably.
Probably. There you go. You know what someone told me about books the other day, which is like it's one of the only forms of media that you are truly in someone else's head. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're putting all these words, and you have to kind of like go through that imaginary process to like see it all, especially within fiction. And I just thought that was really cool. I also think it's like what I feel like I do in the fitness space is, you know, make it silly and make it not feel like it is that task. And I think that the same can be applied to reading, where it's like, hey, like this doesn't have to be that daunting. Like this can be fun. Like find something that you're interested in. Like maybe you need some sex in that book so that it will like really intrigue you and make you horny. And maybe that's what you're truly looking for. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know.
Exactly. I love that you are getting the help you need via books.
Yes.
You have
very important.
Go watch Closer. Have you read the play?
I have not read the play. Wait. Actually, I think I did read part of it in my freshman year acting class in college.
It sounds 100% accurate.
Yeah, it sounds right. And it is a phenomenal. I should read the writing. Oh my God.
Yeah. The introduction is written by Alanis Morissette.
Well, for Closer? Okay, yeah. I get it.
But no, it's probably a great read. Well, Cody, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being my guest gay reader.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Anything else that people should check out of yours? You have your podcast, you have your Peloton rides. You're like building a Cody Rigsby empire. Go buy the book, everybody.
Yeah, just, head on over to Instagram. Follow me at Cody Rigsby. Head on over to TikTok. Follow me at Cody_Rigsby, because some bitch took my name before I could get on the platform, but that's okay.
Did you find them? Did you write them a letter?
I did not. I just, I kept it pumping. That was like probably 3 years ago. I'm like 4 years ago. So I'm like, I'm out. Thank you so much for having me, and get out there and read some books, dum-dums. All right.
You heard it here. Go out and read some books, dumb. Cody, Lyndsay, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, make sure to follow us over on Instagram at Gays Reading. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review if you're so inclined. Thank you to those of you who have done so far. And that's all from me. I'll see you next week. Bye.